Shakespeare's primary source for Macbeth comes from a history that was written in the 1580s called Holinshead's Chronicles. Holinshead's Chronicles are important for any Shakespeare scholar because most of Shakespeare's historical works draw upon it as a primary source. Early in Shakespeare's playwriting career, he focused mostly on history plays in order to explain the rise of the Tudor dynasty and to justify the reign of Queen Elizabeth. And he used Holinshead in the history that he gave of the War of the Roses in order to present to the English public plays to justify the ruling monarchy and its overthrowing of the former houses. And Shakespeare would return to Holinshead several times throughout his career in order to find various other subjects to write historical plays on. By the time we arrive to Macbeth, Shakespeare is writing at the height of his power. He began his career when Queen Elizabeth was queen, and now King James I is king of England. I mention this fact to try to explain why Shakespeare chose Scotland as a subject for a historical play. King James I was originally King James V of Scotland, and one of his relatives was related to Banquo, whom Macbeth will murder in the play. Therefore, one of the reasons for this play is to exalt the house of King James and to explain a little bit about Scottish history to the English populace. One of the strange factors of that you see at play in Macbeth is the kind of preponderance of the supernatural. We see witches, we see black magic, we see Hecate, the goddess of dark black magic, and we see curses and spells and witchcraft. Of course, people have always been attracted to magic, to thunder and lightning and demonic elements in plays. But these are usually not prominent in Shakespeare's tragedies because they usually have a more kind of serious tone. But for many Englishmen at the time, Scotland was a kind of wild and insane land where people could still imagine that witches were roaming the hills and where people were making deals with the devil. So Shakespeare's play simultaneously lauds King James I and his lineage and descent in Scotland, and introduces the English public to a fantastical vision of Scotland, which is of course going to excite their attention, seeing a play that features witches and magic and all the other things that you see throughout the play from the very first act, with the witches at their cauldron. The primary themes of the play that we're going to explore are kind of divided into several areas. Today, many feminist scholars love to study Macbeth because Macbeth raises questions about the nature of masculinity. What does it mean to be a man? Where is ambition, and what role does ambition play in being a man? What is a woman, and what is a woman's role with her husband? And what does ambition transform a woman into something evil, into something wicked, as it seems to do with Lady Macbeth? And what role does duty and honor play in masculinity when we are faced with ambition? So some of these topics I plan to discuss and explore as we go through and discuss Macbeth act by act.